Hello friends and welcome back to Step Up CBSE Class 5 EVS Chapter 1 Super Senses. In the previous part we saw what is a sense. Now in this part we are going to talk about a super sense of smell. As always we are going to see the textbook, a question answers in detail, and we are also going to see some new words and concepts. Alright, so let's go. By one, we are going to go through each super sense and related sense organs, and we are going to see how they help us. So our first super sense is smell. The sense organ that is used for detecting smell is obviously nose. And we are going to learn a new word here. Okay, and that word is olfactory receptors. Once more, we'll say it together: olfactory receptors. Now, what does receptor mean? Receptor is like an antenna, right? An antenna will help you catch the signal better. So our olfactory receptors, it is there inside our nose, and they can detect smells that are there in the air that enter our nose. And then what happens? They send a signal to our brain and they tell us what type of smell it is, right? Whether it's a good smell or bad smell. And depending upon what signal the olfactory receptors are sending, our brain will say that yes, I like this smell, or no, this is a bad smell, I'm not comfortable with this smell, right? So our super sense is smell, our sense organ is nose, and a new word that we are going to learn here is olfactory receptor. This is additional information besides your textbook, but it is interesting. Right. Now let's go to textbook page 2. How did the ant recognize a friend? An ant was going along the ground. It saw a group of ants coming from the other side. The first ant quickly came back to its hole. The ant guarding the hole recognized it and let it in. Think and tell. How did the ant know that the other ants were not from its group? And how did the guard ant recognize this one ant as its friend? Right? Now, the guard ant, we saw in previous slide that the ants have extremely strong sense of smell. So the guard ant recognized its friend by using its sense, and especially its sense of smell. So it could tell that yes, this ant that is coming towards me is my friend, and the other ants, they smell different. So they are not from my group, right? So the guard ant let its friend inside, but not the other ants. Try this and write. Drop some sugar, jaggery, or anything sweet on the ground and wait until the ants come. Okay, once you have done this, we are going to see and observe these questions. How long did it take for the ants to come? Did one ant come first or a group of ants came together? What did the ant do with the food? Where do they go from there? Do they move in line? Now, once you have done this activity and observed, we can compare our answers. Now, when I did this activity, I found out that the ants came in about 10 or 15 minutes. It took the ants to come near the food. I had dropped a piece of jaggery and the ants came within 10-15 minutes, right? One ant came first and then the other ants followed it. So first one ant came trying near the food, and then I saw that many ants started following the first one. What did the ants do with the food? They seemed to be carrying the food away. Where do they go from there? They went back to their hole or their home with the food that they were carrying. And did they move in line? Yes, I observed that these ants were in fact moving in one line. We start with page 3 of our textbook. Now carefully, without harming the ants, block their path for a while with pencil. Now observe, how do the ants move? When I tried this, I noticed that the ants start climbing the pencil, but surprisingly, they're still moving in a line. So one ant climbed the pencil and then the other ants started following it along the same path. Now, many years ago, a scientist did many experiments like this, like dropping food and observing when the ants come, or blocking its path, or changing their directions, and things like that. And he found out that as the ants move, they leave a smell on the ground. They leave, maybe our noses are not, may not be able to detect that smell even if we put our nose to the ground and try to smell it. But ants, since they have a very strong sense of smell, they can smell the scent that is left by their friends on the ground. And the other ants follow the smell to find the way. And the name of the scientist, if you are interested, was E.O. Wilson. You can find out more about this scientist, but he was the one who performed these experiments regarding ants and their behavior. So now can you guess why the ants behaved like that when you blocked their path? They were still moving in a line because obviously they leave a scent behind them, right? So even when we blocked their path, one ant overcame the block. Like one ant started to climb the pencil, and as it was doing so, it was leaving a scent so that the other ants knew from where exactly to go and started following that ant. Now, some male insects can recognize their females by their smell. So, a male insect can tell a female insect or where the female insect is just by the smell of the female insect. Okay, there are many such examples in the animal kingdom or the insect world. Now, have you ever been troubled by mosquitoes? Maybe in the evening, especially, you're sitting in a park, you're playing, and suddenly you notice that there are mosquitoes that are coming around you. And just think how they know where exactly you are. Like you're sitting on a bench and they come there. Suppose you try to change position, you go to sit on another bench. They will come there after few seconds or few minutes, right? So how exactly do they know where you are? Now, mosquitoes can find you or they can find us by the smell of our body. Now, especially if you think that you are in a park, you have played for some time, so you're sweating, so your body is giving out the smell of your sweat. So that is how the mosquitoes can find you, with the smell of your sweat. And not only your sweat, they can also find you by the smell of your feet, the sole of your feet. Okay, and also they can detect the heat of your body, right? So all these things, with all the help of all these things, the mosquito knows exactly where you are. And generally, so that is why, so that the mosquitoes don't bite us and then they don't irritate us, what do? We hide our body scents by covering it up with a different scent like citronella oil. Or you can see on TV there are so many commercials about odomos or some ointment that you can put on your hands and feet so that your body smell gets covered and the mosquito gets confused and then they don't come to bite you, right? Now, just like mosquitoes and ants, even silkworm can find its female worm from many kilometers away. So even if there is a silkworm and can detect a female that is far away, and it can just by its smell. Now, we saw how ants, mosquitoes, silkworms, all these small insects have a very strong sense of smell. But so do dogs, don't they? Have you seen dogs sniffing here and there? What do they think? What do you think that they're trying to smell, right? We always see a dog is always has its head down and it is trying to sniff something or smell something on the ground. So what is it trying to do exactly? Now, dogs, they often mark their own area or territory around the road, right? So if you have a pet dog, you will see that your dog will mark its territory. How? By its urine or by doing potty. near the house, near the fence of the house, or near the area or the road where you live on, right? So when you take your dog out for a walk, or maybe even stray dogs, they are always smelling because they are trying to find out if some other dog has come into their area. So they are looking for smell of urine or potty of other dog, to just understand like, okay, this is my area, but has any other dog come into it? And not only dogs, all animals like cats in jungles also, tigers, lions, they often mark their territory by urine or potty, so that they know that if some other tiger or some other lion has entered their territory. Now, isn't it amazing? Just by smell, the dog comes to know that, okay, somebody else is in my territory, so I have to defend it. But now let us look at some additional information here. What do the dog nose have that we humans don't? Can we detect just by smell that, okay, some stranger is in the house? Maybe or maybe not. If the smell is really strong, maybe you can detect, but not always. But dog, it will surely able to detect whether a stranger has come into its territory. So what do the dog noses have that we humans don't, right? So like I said, this is additional information, but let's see what do they have. So, if you look at a dog's nose carefully, you will see that it has a really big snout or nose, right? Like in its face, the nose is a little bit outside and it is a long snout. And also, have you looked at the shape? It looks like an aeroplane. It is an aerodynamic shape. Now, this allows them to smell better. And how so? Remember the new word we learned earlier? Olfactory receptors. Now, because the dog has a bigger nose and a bigger snout, it has many much more or many or my additional olfactory receptors in their noses, right? So compared to us, we have about 6 million, but in our nose, the size of our nose can hold up to 6 million olfactory receptors. But a dog, since it has a bigger nose, it has around 300 million olfactory receptors. And that is why dogs are always looking for new and interesting odors, smells, right? They are always attracted to it. Now, if you look closely at a dog's nose, you will see that a dog nose has small slits on its side. Like our nose, if you touch your nose, you will not find slits on the side. We only have our nostrils, but you don't have any slits on the side. But a dog's nose actually has small slits. And because of this, the dog inhales the air and exhales the air, inhales the air through its nostrils, but when the air has to come out or breathe out the air, they will do it from their slits, right? So the dog is always continuously sniffing or taking in air through its nostrils, whereas when it is breathing out, it is coming out of its slits, right? So it is continuously looking for new smells. And you can see that we cannot really wiggle our nostrils independently. Like when you try to twitch your nose or you try to wiggle your nose, you cannot do one nostril, like left nostril and then right nostrils, but dogs can. And that helps them to locate the source of smell, right? So because they can move one nostril and then the other nostril, they can always try to see that from where exactly, which direction the smell is coming from. And that is why you can see the dog is always sniffing on the ground, and it is going in the front, it is coming back, it is going in the front, coming back, it is going back and forth in its invisible trail. Okay, now let's move further. Okay, so we saw the additional information about what dogs noses have that we humans don't. So just by remembering that, let's see if we can write the answer to this question. In what way do human beings make use of this special sense of smell in dogs? So dogs possess a very strong sense of smell, right? We saw that. And it is sometimes much more sensitive than even the most advanced man-made instrument. So even if you make an instrument to detect smell, a dog's nose is much more advanced than that. And with training, we can use dogs to sniff out bombs or stolen goods or find criminals, right? We often see on airports or in some buildings, we can see police, they have their trained dogs to find out if something is stolen or find out criminals. And interestingly, now dogs are even being trained to find out if a human being has any disease like cancer, diabetes, tuberculosis, even malaria, just from the smell alone. So maybe the patient who has diabetes, their body is giving out a particular smell. So just by that smell, we can see if the so we can make the dog sense if that person has that particular disease, right? So this is about dogs. When do you find your sense of smell helpful? When do us humans find our sense of smell is useful to us? So if we have to list some examples, we can say to know if food item has gone bad or if something is burning in the house. Now these are really strong smells, right, that our nose can pick up. If something is burning, we can immediately sense, yes, something is burning, right? So we can, our senses will help us to tell us like, yes, something is burning or the food that we are eating is gone bad. We can also smell perfumes and flowers, incense sticks or agarbattis that we put near our prayer houses, or if our clothes are smelling of our sweaty clothes, okay, or if there is a gas leak in the kitchen, we can see that also. Now these are the senses, these are the things that our sense of smell will help us in. But we can also recognize animals only by their smell, right? So if you suppose for fun, if you just close your eyes and if you try to just tell which animal is there in the room just by the sense of smell, can you tell? Yes, we can. We can recognize dogs or cat or cow or even fish. And if you go near a fish tank, you get that typical fishy smell, right? So we can even say that yes, there is a fish in the room, just even if your eyes are closed. Now we have to write names of five things whose smell you like and five things maybe whose smell you don't like, right? So for me, if I have to discuss this, I can say that I like the smell of food. My favorite food like pav bhaji or vada pav, or those smells I really like. Or incense stick agarbattis that I put in my prayer house, or the perfume or fresh cut grass, right? Or flowers or some many other things. There are so many good smells that I like. Then smells that I don't like is food that has gone bad, garbage or drainage. Now these are really strong smells and I don't like them. You can write what you like or don't like, right? And after that, do you and your friends have similar answers? Yes, mostly. Some may be similar, some may be different, but you can definitely say that when it comes to really strong bad smells or really strong good smells, you and your friend will have similar answers, isn't it? All right, now moving on to textbook page 5, let's discuss. Do the clothes of any of your family members smell or they have a typical smell? If so, then whose? If we think about it, maybe our mother, her clothes will smell of the perfume that she puts on, or your clothes, if when you go down to play and come up, they'll smell of your sweat, isn't it? Or your father's clothes will smell of a typical smell, right? So yes, we can recognize our family members just by the smell of their clothes, and we can also tell who the clothes belong to. Now, obviously, not only by looking at the clothes, like your mother's clothes, you can recognize her sari or her Punjabi dress, right? Your dad's shirt you can recognize just by looking at it. But not only by that, you can also recognize them by their smells, isn't it? And did you ever come across any smell in a crowded place such as a state fair or a bus or train? Yes, when we go to such crowded places, most often what do we smell is we can smell food stalls or toilets. If you go near a train station or a bus toilet, you find a really strong and pungent smell is coming, right? It is, and it's very strong. Or you smell various food stalls in these fairs or at train stations. So yes, we can smell these. We can smell such strong smells in a crowded places, right? Now let us look at this incident that happened, right? Why so? Today, Rajni had to go out for some important work. She had to leave her 6-month-old son Deepak with her sister Sushila. Sushila also has a baby of the same age. So Sushila also has a baby that is 6 months old. It is funny that both the babies did potty at the same time. Oh no, now Sushila, poor Sushila, she has to clean them both together. But she happily cleaned her daughter, right? But when she was cleaning her sister's son Deepak, she could not bear the smell of the potty. She had to cover her nose with a dupatta. Now you must be wondering, both the little babies did potty, but why did Sushila react differently to her daughter and whereas to her sister's son? Why did she do that? Let's see. Right. Now we read the story about Sushila. Now let us think and discuss, why did Sushila cover her nose when she cleaned Deepak's nappy but not when she cleaned her daughter's, right? So, Sushila was used to cleaning her daughter's nappy every day, isn't it? Over time she had got used to her daughter's nappy smell because she's doing it every day, so she's used to it. But maybe she has never cleaned Deepak's dirty nappy before, and obviously since it was potty smell, she could not stand it and she had to cover her nose, but not while cleaning her own daughter's nappy, and that is because she had got used to her daughter's dirty nappy smell. How do you feel when we walk near a heap of garbage? Now think about the children who spend whole day picking things from such garbage. Now if we walk near garbage will have rotting food and things that are gone bad and people have thrown out. So when we walk near a heap of garbage, we will cover our nose when we are walking near it, right? But children who spend whole day picking up things, they will get used to the smell and then they are not troubled so much by it. So we will cover our nose when we walk near the heap of garbage, but the children picking garbage, they'll not cover their nose, they'll just go around picking up. Now why so is because it's interesting fact is, out of all our five senses, right, our sense of sight, our sense of touch, hearing, taste and smell, a sense of smell is the sense that adapts or gets used to our surrounding very quickly. Now, for example, if something is pricking your eyes will start to water and you'll feel really uncomfortable and you might not be able to see with watery eyes. So our eyes don't get used to a bad surrounding. If you taste something bitter, your tongue will, or your sense of taste will tell that this is food is very bitter and we don't like it. Or suppose you touch something hot, your skin will start to burn, so even your sense of touch will not get used to a bad environment, isn't it? Or if you hear a very loud sound, so our hearing, we'll cover our ears, we'll say that this sound is so loud I cannot bear it. But if you are walking near a heap of garbage every day, over time you will notice that you get used to that smell and it does not bother you so much. Okay, so this is one thing about a sense of smell, is that it adapts very quickly to the surrounding and we are not bothered by good or bad smell once we get used to it, right? Is a smell good or bad for everyone in the same way, or does it depend on how each one feel? Now it depends on each and every one of us, isn't it? A good smell or bad smell will depend on how a person feels. Now, for example, if we have a pet, okay, we are used to the smell of the pet in our house, but if your friend comes in, maybe they'll not be so comfortable. Or if we cook meat or fish in the house, if your mother is cooking it every day, you will get used to that smell, but maybe your friend will not get used to it. So it all depends upon how a person feels on what smell is good and what smell is bad. Let's quickly summarize what we have learned so far. We learned that ants have a super sense of smell and they use this to find food, identify its friends. Mosquitoes also use sense of smell to find food. And in insects, male insect can identify its female just by their sense of smell. Of all the super senses, we discussed that our sense of smell is the one that we where it gets used to a certain sense in over time, and then it does not bother us that much. So this is all for this part of super sense of smell. In the next part we will discuss about super sense of sight. If you liked this video, please click on like and subscribe to the channel. We have many more such videos describing the chapter in detail and learning of new concepts coming up soon.